Hello, and thank you for joining me for this quick webinar on category and merchandising optimization. My name is Linda Bustos. I am the co-founder of Edgacent. We're an e-commerce optimization and technology strategy firm. I also blog at a blog called Ecommerce Illustrated. So if you like this content here, we've got lots more of that, how to optimize your site from homepage through checkout. But today's topic is particularly exciting for me. I've been an e-commerce analyst for 10 years. If you can remember back around 10 years ago, that was when conversion rate optimization was just really starting to get evangelized, and people started really to see the value of what A/B testing their web design could do for their revenue and conversion rates. And now we finally have the technologies that are developing and finally being implemented to be able to do category-based conversion rate optimization through optimizing the sort and presentation of actual categories on the list page and A/B testing them. So this webinar is going to walk through what that is and how you can apply that to your site and what are some of the things to keep in mind when you develop these strategies. So category merchandising optimization is not a new thing. It's been around for a really long time. We know that every inch of the grocery store shelf has been planned out meticulously. The eye-level products or the premium real estate, those have been negotiated and very carefully planned, all the way down to the generic, bottom row, the end caps. Everything in the grocery store is strategic. We also, if you're a good retail merchandiser, you are very strategic in the way that you optimize your store experience. You want to put the freshest and the most intriguing things on the mannequin, put it up closer to the front of the store. Notice in the back of the store is kind of that discount rack, the stuff that they want to get rid of, but front and center are the new merchandise, the full price merchandise, the things that they think we're going to get attention. A really good retail store merchandiser is an observer and watches how people interact with products within the store. When you place a certain jacket to the front of the rack, does that help it sell more? Well, what if we pull out this style and put it front? So a good strategic manager, merchandiser is constantly A/B testing almost, is testing their strategies and their hypotheses and watching how customers interact and watching what they take to the dressing room and what gets end up put it back on the rack and what ends up getting rung up at the till, right? And so this offline world, how do we replicate this type of dynamic merchandising and feedback and optimization in the online world? Well, if you don't do anything and you just place products into a category, dump it into the list kind of haphazardly, or just sort by most recent or sort by most popular. I mean, these look like they're all very popular. They've been manhandled, probably tried on and just dumped on the table. So yeah, these might be very, very popular and well touched and well experienced products. But this is a nightmare experience whether you're in store or online. If you're online, this is the experience of going through pages and pages and pages and pages, looking for something that calls your name, looking for something that's relevant to your criteria or even just catches your eye. So category and merchandising optimization is that strategic category by category approach to merchandising list pages. So on an e-commerce site like Petco, you've got categories, you've got subcategories, and you often have subcategories of subcategories and then filtered navigation and faceted navigation, which can really narrow down results. But the thing about categories and subcategories and filters and attributes applied is it changes the context of the actual purchase decision, right? So if somebody's exploring and using categories and in a browsing mode, they are scanning your product list to look for something that resonates with them. And that decision is different when you're shopping for doggy apparel than when you're shopping for something like dog food, right? Which is a consumable you're buying on a regular basis. Apparel is a lot more personal and it really depends on your dog's breed and size and your personality, the dog's gender, what time of year it is. It's focused on it's based on a lot of different things. And you might buy several outfits in one trip, right? In one shopping trip. It's not like when you're buying a crate and a kennel where you're going to make one decision and you're going to really make that decision with a lot of consideration, and you're not going to make the decision based on a 1 inch by 1 inch thumbnail. You're going to look through and read the specs, and you're going to read customer reviews, and you're going to compare prices, and it's a lot more of a considered purchase. So let's just look at what we can observe about what Petco is merchandising their category with. You'll notice that both, actually all of their categories are sorted by default by most popular. Now that can be, most popular can be a little bit deceptive, because if a product lives in several different categories, and one of my favorite examples is the adult coloring section on Oriental Trading, where when you sort by most popular by default, you get a lot of Crayola markers and crayons and pencils and stuff showing up in the coloring book category, simply by virtue that those products are clicked on and purchased a lot because they exist in the children's category and in back to school and in art supplies and in many, many different categories. Another bias that can influence most popular is when products are, by virtue of being shown first in the category, get seen more, get clicked more, get purchased more. So it's almost like a self-selection bias that ends up influencing the way that they're ranked, and the rich kind of get richer in this sense. So you want to think through all of those things, and you want to think through what goes through your customer's mind at each category level. If we're talking about dog food, wow, there's thousands, literally thousands of SKUs on this site in the dog food category. So if we're talking about dry dog food, is most popular, most relevant, or does it really depend on, like, if you're looking at these default examples, let's take a look. There's something for a mature adult dog, there's a toy breed, there's a Shih Tzu puppy. So out of these top three, which should be, the best, the best that they can show you on a general basis, unless you own a Shih Tzu, a toy breed, or an active mature dog food, if you're any of not this, you're doing the scroll down, right? You're looking through, or you're gonna have to fiddle with these. And brand isn't that relevant. Price isn't always that relevant when you're talking about dog food. There's other attributes that you need to know, such as your breed, the age, their special dietary concerns, etc. So you really want to take that systematic approach of going through each category and saying, okay, maybe for dry dog food, value is what matters. But if you're looking for natural dog food, that person is already in a mindset of paying a premium, and they might be more influenced by your own featured suggestions or recommended for you, or putting some groupings where it says the value propositions for different brands, and getting somebody to buy into a brand before deciding on the flavor or the can size. These are things you just need to think about on a product by product, category by category basis. As you show here, dry dog food and natural dog food, the customer is thinking different things. They're valuing different things in the transaction. And so the most popular, or your default sort, or the last added might not be the best experience for those customers. We also want to talk about, just an A/B test, or sorting by best selling versus top rated. So within a category, this is Sephora, 460 products in the moisturizer category. And if you just think about a first page, if you show this set of products versus this set of products, you're probably going to get a difference in click-through and conversion rates just by virtue of showing different products first, right? It's almost like a luck of a draw. Maybe if you A/B tested this, you just would expect to see different click-through based on how attractive these products are. So you could, with a category merchandising approach, say our hypothesis is that folks are going to be more intrigued by best-selling than by top-rated. Or if it's a product like moisturizer, where somebody is like, it doesn't matter what's popular, I want something that works. It's really about what's going through the customer's mind. And if they're not even paying attention to this, whatever sort you've applied, but they're going through and they're seeing 5-star, 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 that might not be enough differentiation, whereas they're visually going through and seeing, okay, this one looks like it's a little bit better than that one. Um, that might influence click through as well. So testing is a great way to find out what your customer how they actually behave in different scenarios. You even might want to get into a customer segmentation or a visitor segmentation strategy, where if somebody has been visiting that category 5 or 6 times within the last 14 days, that's a person who has actually gone through your results a few times. And maybe what they're looking for is what's new and hot, and they're coming back to your site looking for something new. They've already evaluated, this page and that page. They've already seen it. They've already clicked through, and none of that was intriguing enough. But they're coming back to see what's new. And we'll see this with fashion. This is my own behavior on Sephora, by the way. I'm always going and sorting by new because I just really care about what I practically memorize their catalog. So I'm interested in what's new and hot. And you might find that there are certain strategies in certain contexts that really make sense for your site or not. Why don't you test that hypothesis with these tools? And one last thing about Sephora, and a lot of businesses as well have this kind of baked into their business model, is that they're selling multiple brands that you can find on Amazon and many other channels. But they also have their own house brands. So Sephora owns Kat Von D, Ole Henriksen, owns Marc Jacobs Beauty. It owns several brands in addition to its own Sephora branded products. So if Sephora decided to actually put some margin and house brand boost and berry rules within categories, it might find the sell through for these products goes up. And because those are exclusive products to this website, repurchasing those products, having bought them more by virtue of them showing up higher in categories and being promoted more often, may be a better and more profitable strategy than just letting best selling do its job. Because if these products are being sold in many other places, they benefit from exposure and advertising and reviews all over the place, and there might be other factors why they're sold more. So just there's tons of things to think about. It's going to be very contextual to your business and your scenarios, your customers, and on a category and product basis. So lots to think about. I just want to call out one more scenario, and that's when you have products that have multiple colors or sizes or other SKU factors that if you're not replenishing them on a constant basis, there comes a time in every product's life cycle when it just, it's time for clearance. It's time to move that to pasture and sell whatever you've got left of it to those who fit the criteria, right? But you don't want to have these products showing up high. Now, they may be very popular. They may have an extraordinary sell-through rate, and that's what got them to this low stock state in the first place. You've got to think about these factors that if you just let the machine run and you don't apply some human wisdom to it and your own merchandising rules and your own logic to it, you might find some of these products, well, they get viewed a lot. They're very, very popular, but the experience falls down because there's not a lot of it left. So you've got to put a berry rule where, when products are scant, they don't get shown as high in results. Now, if you got a miracle from heaven came down and you got replenished a bunch of stock and that changed the state, if your technology is tuned where it can just recognize that and it automatically just gives it a boost without you having to remember to influence your algorithm or manually drag and drop this back to the top, then wow, you're at a really great advantage, because when stock is replenished, then it just boop, the machine starts rolling again and it can start getting popular again. So these are just really common scenarios that happen with every online business, and until now, there just hasn't been tools that that a merchandiser and a business user has been able to touch and influence and mix some of that machine learning and automation with data, right, and with the human strategies. So I'm quickly going to cover some strategic considerations. Buying context by category matters. So just throw these all up there real quick. Consumables versus considered purchases. Is the product visual versus attribute driven? Does brand have an influence? The impact of social proof. So, for example, with a crate, maybe it's more important when I'm buying a dog crate that other people have found it to be sturdy and reliable than I care about what the dog food tasted like. Right? Top rated dog food doesn't matter as much as that top rated crate. Evergreen versus seasonal product and purchases. So again, if it's just one solid SKU option and it's not configurable, then I don't worry about it when it runs low on stock. I can still promote it and sell that last one versus, I really want to bury something that has multiple configurations, and, I don't want to disappoint customers when there's only one size left. And then number of results per category. So the higher the number of results that someone has to weed through, the higher the priority that you should be applying some rules and some strategy to. So 500 products in a dry dog food, tackle that before you tackle the raw dog food category, which maybe only has 25 or 30 products in it. Boost and berry factors, we covered some in this webinar. Revenue per visitor, really important. Sell-through rates, view or sales velocity. And this view or sales velocity is really interesting because sometimes you can't predict trends. What if Kim Kardashian posts something to Instagram and her dog's wearing a camouflage jacket? All of a sudden, there's a surge for searches on your site and browsing looking for a camouflage jacket. And you didn't predict this, and you're not tuned into pop culture, and you don't care, and you don't need to care, because the system is picking up on the trends wherever they're coming from and whatever the reason. And if you put a boost and berry rule that if there's a sudden surge in views or sales velocity, then reward that, and start showing it more. Show the hotter products first. You can bake those rules into your tool. Freshness matters for some categories more than others. Stock availability, again, matters more sometimes than others. And you can really take a mix of these factors. This is not an exhaustive list, but you can tune and say, I want to give a higher weighting to things that are available and that have a high margin and price. And I also want to put, maybe a factor of 3 out of 10 for sell through. And I want to put a factor of 8 out of 10 for revenue per visitor. And, it's not that you are stacking show them only in order of newness. You're actually much like a Google algorithm, allowing for various factors to influence the ranking. And this can be very dynamic. And as revenue per visitor or sell through drops for certain products, then, they naturally start filtering down to the bottom or diminish in position, and that you don't have to do that manually. Also, when you want to think about a personalization layer here, if you have profile data, past purchases, referring sites or campaigns, maybe they have some products already in their cart that give you context of their intent. They perform searches on your site, categories or brands previously browsed. Those types of contexts, if you can bake them into your strategy, first of all, you may find scenarios and use cases for setting up custom personalization merchandising rules based on customer segments. And technology considerations, again, this doesn't really come out of the box out of a traditional e-commerce platform. There are third-party services that you need to subscribe to, but Hybris SAP has recently rolled this out into their merchandising products, so you can actually seamlessly integrate this with Hybris. And that's really exciting because it makes the stuff that I talk about actually possible. So I'm actually going to sit down at IRCE. I've teamed up with Hybris. I'm going to be at their booth to do live one-on-one private consultations, 30 minutes long. This is not a sales pitch. This is just a discussion about how these strategies, I gave hypothetical examples, but how they can be applied to your site directly. And it's limited space available. Please sign up in the with the link accompanying this video in the blog post, And if you don't get a slot or you're not going to be at IRCE, please feel free to reach out to me directly. I'd love to speak with you offline. Just have a conversation around how category and merchandising strategy could really bump up your results this quarter and this year, help you reach your targets. So thank you for sticking with this webinar all the way through the end, and I hope it was very helpful to you.